For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading materials supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a Motorsports content partner here at Race Chaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit stockcarsteel.com or SRI-supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888-752-7272.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Good evening, race fans, wherever you may be. Welcome to tonight's Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. My name is Tom Baker. I am your host. I am joined tonight in the studio by our show's producer, Jacob Seelman, once again stepping out from behind the glass. Jacob doing co-hosting duties again tonight because Kyle Souza is actually in Florida and attending some of the festivities down there. He will be joining us with a report that we taped earlier today, and he is hoping to be on hand at New Smyrna tomorrow night, which is Friday, so should have all of the goodies set for next week's round of shows here on 77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. But for now, Jacob, we have got quite a show lined up, all kinds of news and analysis, and a couple of very special feature interviews as well.
Yeah, we do, Tom, and I'm certainly looking forward to tonight's show. A lot to talk about from Speed Weeks, and Speed Weeks really just starting to hit the peak of everything that goes on during this 2-week period of motorsports. A lot of great things going on around the short track world, and a couple of drivers who have been a big part of it over the past couple of days. We're going to hear from them here coming up in just a few minutes.
Jesse Little going to be joining us, as is Michael Lira. We're going to hear from both of them, and let's get started, shall we, with some analysis. Jacob, boy, it has been an amazing couple of weeks, really, and when you think about all of the racing events that have taken place between the dirt and the asphalt, and it's all come down to just a scant few left here over the next couple of days on the short track side, and then it's time to focus on the Great American Race Weekend.
Tom, I'm certainly looking forward to it. It's going to be a fantastic weekend. I have a feeling we've seen so much excitement over the last couple of days with the Budweiser shootout on last Saturday, with the Tuesday night running of the Battle at the Beach, with everything that's gone on over at New Smyrna Speedway, the excitement level and the intensity. I heard Kyle Souza say it earlier today. It is nothing short of electric in the air. If you're in Daytona Beach, you can feel it. Even those of us who are sitting at home, like you and I are, can feel it. It's going to be a fantastic weekend. Heck, it already has been a fantastic last week, but certainly the events to come only going to make it even more so, because no more that we're done on the air here, fans going to head over to Fox Sports and catch the Budweiser duels tonight.
Yeah, going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that, as I know you are. Let's get started here by talking about our first feature interview, Jesse Little. Here is a young man who is, of course, if you're out there thinking, geez, I know that name Little from somewhere, that is, you are right. Jesse Little is the son of former NASCAR Sprint Cup Series racer Chad Little. Jesse Little was the 2013 Rookie of the Year in the K&N Pro East Series last year, and something unique about that. His dad was the Rookie of the Year of the series back in, I think it was either 86 or 89, somewhere in the late 80s. So they both share that honor, which is kind of cool. He was ninth in points, Jesse was last year, at 7 top 5 finishes, including a career best second at Phoenix in November. And again, another one of those second generation drivers who appears that he could have a very bright future in front of him.
Yeah, it certainly appears that way, and I know a very, very bright end of the season for Jesse Little as well. Little went on a run his last 7 races, picked up 5 top 10s, and really it looked like started to come into his own. His dad, as you mentioned, won Rookie of the Year in the K&M Pro Series West, followed that up with a championship in the West. Jesse trying to do the same thing in the East here in 2014. We saw him win rookie honors a year ago, and you'll hear him say in the interview he doesn't think about the fact of what his dad did, although he does admit it would be really, really cool to become the only father-son tandem in any of the K&M Pro Series divisions, East or West, to have won Rookie of the Year and followed it up with a championship the following year. No one's ever done that as far as a father and son tandem, and I know Jesse, although he's not focused on it right now, would like to make that little bit of history, and they really look like they've found the consistency to contend for that elusive championship here in 2014. Struggled somewhat in Florida, though. Had some tough breaks befall them, just didn't catch some cautions the right way, and actually got involved in a couple of skirmishes at the UNOH Battle at the Beach on Tuesday night that relegated them really to not the finishes they were looking for in Florida. But this is a young man whose confidence has not waned any at all, and I know Jesse looking forward to the rest of 2014. Next up in March, we're going to Bristol, a place where he performed very, very strong in 2013 and showed a lot of speed.
Let's hear what he had to say.
Jacob Seelman for Speed 77 Radio and RaceChaserOnline.com, sitting down for a special featured interview with 2013 K&N Pro Series East Rookie of the Year and 2014 driver in the K&N East Series, Jesse Little. Jesse, first off, thank you for taking some time to talk with us. Your 2013 season had a lot of ups and downs, but definitely ended on a high, notching 5 top 10s in your last 7 races and scoring the K&N Pro Series East Rookie of the Year award. Talk a little bit about your 2013 season and what it meant to you to end on such a consistently strong note.
Like you said, it definitely had some ups and downs, but luckily we ended on a really strong and positive note, and I think all that momentum was carried into the beginning of this year. We were really fortunate to win the Rookie of the Year title, and I think all that momentum that we have is hopefully going to propel us early in this year.
The race that I think a lot of people think back to is the race at Phoenix that you ran with the K&N West Series, where you were up in the top 5 almost the entire race, ultimately finished second to Gray Gaulding in that one. What did you learn going out west to run that last race of the year on a bit bigger track than some of the East races you ran and had strong runs in 2013?
Yeah, actually, we were able to go out to Phoenix because of our finishes in the late portion of last year. We didn't wreck too many cars, and luckily we got funding from Lyric Motion that allowed us to go out there, but we enjoyed it a lot. I felt going out there that, we had a good car, a good setup that, had worked on a lot of our bigger tracks. It actually worked a little bit better than I thought it would have, and we had a really fast car, and I think giving me a chance to run there once or more before, I feel, we would have had maybe a better shot at winning. But I was definitely proud. And for that to be the last race, it's hard to want something a little bit better than they too win. It gave us a lot of confidence in the off season, and I feel that there's nothing but high expectations coming in.
You've had a big association with Coulter Motorsports over the last couple of seasons in your K&M Pro Series operations. Certainly a lot of success over in that camp. What's the association with Joey Coulter and all the guys at Coulter Motorsports been like as far as you being able to glean advice and start to advance your career forward a little bit?
Yeah, Joe and Joey Coulter gave us the opportunity to run out of their shop last year, the last 2 years. I feel that was definitely one of the biggest things that allowed us to grab that Rookie of the Year championship. They have a lot of resources, and they opened their doors to us. And, they were very kind and open-armed, and I think, that relationship that we have with them will continue to be good. Joey this year is going to run the full trucks, and they're actually going to run it out of Culture Motorsports where we were last year. So unfortunately we had to move out. Like I said, the relationship continues, and those guys are really, kind, and I think I'm a lot progressing in my career.
Looking ahead now to 2014, you won Rookie of the Year last year, and I know enthusiasm's very, very high getting ready to start this season. Where do you guys set the expectations for 2014, knowing the kind of success you ended last year on?
Knowing how we finished up last year, the expectations are, of course, really high. I especially feel confident in the team that we have. We have the same people back from last year, same crew chief on top of the box, same car chief, and I feel that really gives me the trust that I need in the team to know that we communicate really well, and I know that they're putting the best cars on the track that I can ask for. I feel that with the way we finished last year, it's easy to say that we want to win every single race, and I truly think we're capable of it. I feel that, we can really be a strong contender week in and week out. But, at the end of the day, it's really easy to get caught up in, the points and finishes. And ultimately, we just need to go out there and finish. And that's really the key to how we grabbed the Rookie of the Year last year, Midway through the season, we had a bunch of fast finishes and a blowing engine and a DNF that really put a damper on, our expectations then. We just went out there and said, we're just going to finish no matter what, and if we got a car that's capable of, a top 5, make it a top 5. The finishes started coming to us, and it almost seemed easy. So I think that's definitely the mindset that we're going into this year. Myself finishing, what the car is capable of finishing, and of course, if it's capable of a win, absolutely.
Your dad's been a big supporter along the way. Chad Little, of course, a very accomplished NASCAR driver in his own right, but a lot of support for you as you've started your career the last couple of years. What have you been able to gain from your dad along the way as you've started your journey, and what has that support been like for you over the last couple of years?
It's been incredible. I don't know where I would be at right now if it wasn't for him. It's not as much as you would think of on-track help, but just, how I conduct myself off-track, He's the first one there that, after a bad race or a bad qualifying run, he said, all right, think about what you're going to say. People are always looking at you. And just that assurance gives me the confidence in myself that I know, what I'm doing at the end of the day is what I love. And I think that without him, it would be very, very difficult to progress in my career. I feel very fortunate to have somebody that I can lean on that, has been there and has done that. Hopefully, I can continue to use him on my side for the many years to come.
And I know you alluded to a few of them already, but I know you can't do this alone, and I know you've got a lot of sponsors, supporters behind you helping make it happen. So I'm going to let you give your shout-outs to start 2014. Talk a little bit about who makes it happen for Jesse Little.
Yeah, NASCAR Technical Institute, they were able to come back on board this year, and we're truly fortunate to have them. They provide us our engines we use week in and week out, and it's a really cool relationship we have with them. They take them back to the school, and the students are able to watch and learn how they're taken apart and put and assembled back together, and then we're able to use them on the weekend. So it's a really cool cycle, and we're truly fortunate to have them on our side, and I feel that hopefully the relationship can continue. Along with Vancouver Homes, this first couple Florida swing races, we're really fortunate to have them, along with all our product sponsors, PFC Brakes, Penske Racing Shock, iBox Springs, Racing Electronics, all those guys that, really make the little things possible. And at the end of the day, the little things are the things that, win races. And without them, I don't think we'd be in the position we are right now and have the mentality that we do to go out there and compete for a championship.
Speaking of competing for a championship, I know a lot of drivers don't always read into the numbers, but your dad went out, won Rookie of the Year on the K&N West Series side, and then the next season went on to win the championship. You won Rookie of the Year last year. Is that any indication of what we should expect from you in 2014?
I try not to think about that too much, but I definitely keep it in the back of my mind. It would be really cool to repeat and then have a father-son repeat. I think it's definitely possible. I feel 100% confident in the guys I have and the car they get me, and my sponsors back me totally, and I feel that, why not us? Why not us? And I truly think that we have a legitimate shot this year, and we'll just have to see what happens. At the end of the day, we just got to finish races, and if a win is there, then, we definitely need to take the opportunities that are given to us. But if not, then, we got to keep a cool head and be smart and finish. And I think, with that, the championship will fall in our laps.
A lot of wise words at a young age, Jesse. As you head down to start the Florida Swing for 2014, we wish you all the best. Appreciate again you taking some time to talk with us, and looking forward to seeing all your on-track exploits for 2014 in the K&M Pro Series East, and looking forward to getting it started.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you having me on.
And Tom, the next time that we are going to see Jesse Little on track will be March 15th at the Bristol Motor Speedway for the Pit Light 125. Going to be one of the prelude events to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race that weekend, the Food City 500. Jesse Little going to be looking for career win number 1. As you alluded to, he's come close a couple times, finished third at Rockingham a couple years back, finished second at Phoenix on the west side this past year, but still looking for that first career K&M Pro Series victory. And with the way he looked at the end of last season, I really believe that there's a good chance it'll come this year.
Yeah, I would say there's a good chance as well. I think Jesse has a good attitude about him, and he's got a very intelligent driving style too. He doesn't wreck a lot of cars, and that's what you need. You need to be cautiously aggressive in a series like that, because there are so many really aggressive young racers, and I think you've got to be able to finish the race and be in contention to win. And toward the end of last season, from about the middle point of the season on, Jesse was really, really competitive, and I think he's starting to really be on his game. So even though he didn't have the greatest pair of days to start the season here, I think we get to Bristol, be a little different story for him.
Yeah, and I think there's plenty of potential for a story to be written. Of course, after they head to Bristol, they'll also be at Greenville Pickens, another short track where Jesse was quite competitive during the second go-round last year, and I think coming back this year, this will actually be his third trip to Greenville Pickens, because that's one of the few tracks that the K&N East Series runs at twice on their schedule. I think if you want to ask me right now what race I think Jesse has the potential to get that first win at, we know he's competitive at short tracks, and I think as far as tracks where he's had a lot of time on the track, Greenville Pickens would be one to look out for that number 97 car.
Well, you could very well be right, and we'll make a note that you are predicting that one of those two races we will find Jesse Little and Vic Lane. And as we make that note, we will also take our first caution flag of the evening. Very quick show tonight, trying to get a lot in a short amount of time so we can get you all over to Fox to watch the Budweiser duels. So we will take our first break of the evening. When we come back, we will hear from Michael Lira. We'll also talk World Series and some other news and notes on the duels and what's coming up this weekend. So stay tuned here on the Speed 77 Radio Race Chaser Online Radio Network. We'll be back with more of the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports show right after this.
For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading materials supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a motorsports content partner here at Race Chaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit stockcarsteel.com or SRI-supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888-752-7272.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker,
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio.
powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports. Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on Speed 77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. Tom, I tell you what, we've still got a lot to talk about on this show, and certainly if you want to look for a place during Speed Weeks where there's a lot to talk about, you have to look no further than just down the road in Smyrna Beach and the new Smyrna Speedway, because during speed weeks, if there's not something going on at Daytona, and even sometimes on the nights where there is something going on at the big track, there's always something going on at New Smyrna with the World Series of Asphalt Short Track Racing, and this year's World Series is not disappointed at all.
No, it really hasn't. And honestly, there's always something going on at New Smyrna, period. That's a track where there every week it seems like there's something good happening there. But the World Series is one of those races. It's got such a unique history, and it's been around for such a long time. I can remember as a little kid in the 70s in upstate New York being aware of the modified division and knowing that there was this track called New Smyrna down in Florida that raced the modifieds every February, and hearing names like Evans and Troyer and the bunch always happening in winning races down there. So it is definitely a unique track and a unique series of events. Last night, rather on the 19th, Doug Coby, Doug Coby and the bunch were there, and I got to tell you, the John Blewett Memorial Race is always a great race at New Smyrna, and it didn't disappoint again this year.
No, it certainly did not, and the Blewett Memorial always one of the highlights of the World Series for the Tour-Type Modifieds, along with the Richie Evans Memorial 100, which will round out the World Series for the Modifieds here coming up this Saturday night. But the Blewett Memorial, every bit as exciting as it has been the last several years since its inception. This year, the fifth running of that event. Very hotly contested race over the course of the 76 laps, owing to John Blewett III's car number. This race run in honor of him the last several years, and at the end of it, it was the first driver to win two John Blewett Memorials. Ronnie Silk, who has already won two of the World Series events over the course of the week, and actually got disqualified out of one after everybody thought he had won a third one. But Ronnie Silk grabs his third win of this year's World Series, and a big one, becomes the first two-time winner of the John Blewett III Memorial 76 event. A very, very competitive one this year, but Ronnie Silk in that number 6 car. I hope this isn't, or I guess Ronnie Silk does hope this is a prelude to what he'll see on the Wheel and Modified Tour when he goes back home, because he has looked almost unstoppable, even to guys like Ryan Preece and Tommy Barrett, who are going to be racing against him in a couple months when the tour heads back north.
Yeah, no doubt. Ronnie, certainly a good run in that 76-lap race. And I meant to say Ronnie Silk away at my notes for a second. I mentioned Doug Coby. Of course, he won the Battle at the Beach, and we'll get to the Battle at the Beach stuff here in a moment. Ronnie Silk getting the win. Ryan Preece finished up in second in that race. Barrett third, Eric Goodell fourth, and Justin Bonsignore finished in fifth. And I gotta tell you, Ryan Preece, I mean, he in terms of if you're one of his competitors, you kind of look at Ryan as being like a bad penny. He just keeps turning up in the front of fields.
How true it is. The 23-year-old continues to turn up at the front of these fields, and he turned up the wick to a point where he all but went away with $20,000 on Tuesday night. Preece, of course, winning the pole for the UNOH Battle at the Beach, and subsequently had his problems after leading 147 of 150 laps. Actually, Kyle Souza will join the program here in just a few moments and have a lot more insight on Ryan Preece's troubles and Doug Coby's triumph. Coby getting the victory and a cool $20,000. And for the car owner, Mike Smeriglio, he's now 2 for 2 at Daytona International Speedway. Won that race with his second car a year ago with Steve Park behind the wheel, but certainly a very much more exciting Battle at the Beach race in 2014 than it was in 2013. Kyle and I talked about that here, which you'll hear in just a couple of moments as well, and certainly You know, I know you're not a fan of temporary tracks, Tom, but they finally hit on something that I think at least made this year's race a lot more competitive and a lot more racy as far as green flag laps ran than 2013 was.
Oh, I agree. It was definitely better. I had the chance, didn't see the all of the original broadcast because I had another and had to miss most of it. I got home in time to see about the last 10 laps of the Pro Series East race, but then I did catch it, the rebroadcast of it yesterday, and definitely a much better race. I mean, you know, again, the track is what it is, but they put on a good show, and it was definitely much improved over last year for sure.
Yeah, it was much, much more improved, a lot more green flag stretches. Yeah, there was still the bumping and banging and the caution flags towards the end of the race. But overall, I think NASCAR hit on a formula that works a whole lot better for this battle at the beach, and I would pay to see another show like that if they bring it back for 2015, because they've certainly gotten the formula right, Tom. But while we are here, we'll let Kyle Souza handle the rest of that analysis. But before we do that, we will slip away for a 15-second pause here for station identification. But when we come back, Kyle Souza and I will have even more breakdown of the UNOH battle at the beach on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports show here on Speed 77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a moment. I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
Powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports. Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports show here on Speed 77 Radio and RaceChaserOnline.com. And now going to talk some modified action from the other night, the UNOH battle at the beach taking place on Tuesday at Daytona International Speedway. And want to bring in Kyle Souza to talk all things the battle at the beach. Kyle, certainly a much more entertaining and much more green flag action taking place during this year's battle at the beach compared to last year's caution-filled event. And we saw a tale of two races. We saw the first 141 laps, and then we saw the sprint to the finish, and Ryan Preece unfortunately coming out on the losing end.
Yeah, Jacob, compared to 2013, the UNOH battle at the beach, of course, at least for the modified portion, a lot more entertaining, and there were a lot less caution laps than we saw in 2012. As the tally went down, there was over 100 laps they ran under the green flag and the rest of them under the caution, but last year that was flipped around. There was more caution laps than green flag laps, so that's interesting to see that finally they were able to get that track with a little bit wider straightaways settled out so we could have some good racing, and that's what we had. Ryan Preece taking the pole and qualifying in the afternoon. He and Patrick Emmerling looked to have two of the best cars headed into the 150 lapper. Doug Colby taking 2 practice sessions at the top of the chart in his new ride with car number 2. That was going to be a factor before it was all said and done. But Preece took much of the lead until the finish. There were a couple of single-car incidents. Cole Powell had an incident on the back straightaway, causing a caution at one point. There were a couple of single-car spins during the event, including one of the late race restarts. And Patrick Emmerling spun himself out working the outside of Preece going for the lead. But when it came to the finish, a late race caution flag came out. And the lap car was on the bottom of Ryan Preece heading into turn 1, went up over Preece's left rear, gave Preece a left rear tire problem. The lap car was in to spin out in turn 1, saw the caution flag from the starter stand. When we went back to the green flag, Ryan had a left rear issue that was not going to work. Emmerling worked to the outside, as I mentioned. He spun out. Doug Colby worked the inside of Preece, and he gave a little bit of a buck tap going in turn number 3, moved up the racetrack, and that was it. Colby taking the victory in the UNOH 150 here at Daytona. Myers coming home second. It looked like he was actually going to have a shot at the finish in car number 14, but not enough to make that little burst of energy he needed. He gave Doug a shot going in turn number 3, coming to the checkered flag, but it was not enough. Jacob, probably one of the most entertaining modified races we're going to see this season last night. A lot of green flag action, and it was not those caution flags that we were anticipating headed into the event.
Yeah, certainly a lot of excitement, especially all the way down to that last lap. And as you said, Jason Myers gave it everything he had. Actually got to the back bumper of the 2 of Doug Coby there, going through turns 3 and 4, but it just looked like didn't have the bite off that final corner to get the bumper bar underneath Coby to make a challenge for the win. But how about Jason Myers really carrying the banner for the South, kind of like we expected. We expected he and his brother Bert to really carry the banner for the Southern Tour in this event, and the 2 Myers brothers didn't disappoint.
Absolutely not. The Myers brothers taking care of the southern portion of the event. Both of them were in the top 10 for the various part of the event, but they were the only really strong southern cars that showed up yesterday afternoon. Of course, Doug Coby, Brian Priest were going at it at the front, the northern guys at the finish of that event. But the Myers brothers were strong. He made that little bit effort going in turn number 3. He did put the bumper to Coby, coming to the checkered flag, but you know what? You gotta go for it. Daytona gave him that bump going in turn number 3, but it just was not enough. Coby able to slide that machine off turn number 4 and into victory lane. He posted a couple quick photos on Twitter before he did his victory lane interview on Fox Sports 2. But an interesting battle at the beach, setting up for what's going to be an interesting finish to the week for these modified guys as they head back to Smyrna for the rest of the week for the World Series of Speedway Racing.
And Coby, $20,000 richer, taking home that winner's paycheck for winning the UNOH battle at the beach. You know, I don't want to discount all the Southern guys, though, because there was another Southern driver out of the Bowman Gray Stadium ranks that really impressed me at the finish of the battle at the beach on Tuesday night, and that was Luke Fleming. Fleming really struggled at the start of the race. Didn't look like he could get that car doing anything right until a little bit past lap 75, but once he got that car going in the right direction, had a strong piece by the end of the race and ended up getting a top 5 finish, Kyle, for the South.
Yeah, Fleming actually came on really strong at the finish. There was another caution flag there. He would have lined up inside row number 2. And as you saw all night, the outside lane of the race was not the place to be. Emmerling spun out himself, trying to battle it out early. Justin Bonsignor was actually up to 4th at one point. He backed up in the second groove and lost turn number 2 at one point. It was the inside lane that mattered, coming to the checkered basically throughout the whole race. But Luke Fleming had that inside lane and that final restart. He used it to his advantage to come home with a top 5 finish, and he and Myers taking that Southern banner and showing it strong, even though the Northern Tour with Doug Coby taking the victory.
Let's talk the rest of the World Series of Speedway Racing. The Modified's going to be back in action for a couple more nights of racing leading up to the grand finale, the Richie Evans Memorial 100, to wrap up the World Series on Saturday. Kyle, we've seen a lot of action in the first couple of Tour Modified races at the World Series. What do you expect here going forward for the last couple of nights?
Well, last night, modified portion kind of slow because of the UNOH battle. It's now picked back up once again this evening. But we've had a couple of crazy races down there at New Smyrna. An incident between Jimmy Zacharias and J.R. Bertuccio. One night, Tommy Barrett was involved in another incident. Another night, there's only 15 cars. That's their highest total that they've had. But I do expect last night on Fox Sports 2, Justin Bonsignor mentioned he was headed over to Smyrna, but he mentioned to play with car number 51. We're going to get a couple more cars coming down, and it's going to be some exciting racing heading up to that Richie Evans Memorial race this weekend. But it should be a great battle. Doug Coby could be taking that trip. Rumor has it he's got a car he's going to be driving. It won't be that number 2, but rumor said he is going to be going down there for the Richie Evans race, hang out here in Daytona, and it's actually beautiful and sunny. So hopefully the modified team gets some good weather for the rest of the weekend and have a great battle down there in New Smyrna with some of the best modified drivers the North and the South has to offer.
And while it's not our usual MO on this particular show, you are down in Daytona now, and you're going to be around the pit area for several of the events this weekend going into Speed Weeks on Sunday for the Daytona 500. What's the atmosphere been like down there as everything's really getting ramped up headed towards Sunday? We know 3 big races coming up this weekend with the Truck Series event, the Nationwide Series, and of course the Sprint Cup Series headliner Sunday afternoon.
The atmosphere is ecstatic down here in Daytona. A lot of people stacking up to the beach for today at least, getting set for tomorrow night. Budweiser will be at Daytona. It's going to be an interesting weekend here at Daytona. The weather hopefully going to cooperate with us for the 56th running of the Daytona 500. The area is packed here in Daytona. There are cars all over the place. Almost every hotel on the walk has no vacancies at this point. So if you're still trying to get down here to Daytona, you're going to have to do some work to find a hotel and a vehicle to get you here. At the airport this week, Enterprise mentioned if they didn't have any more rent cars from Daytona, so that's going to be interesting to see. If you're still trying to get down here, there are still tickets available. It's beautiful. It's sunny. This place is packed, ready for Speed Week to conclude this weekend with the 500.
As it always is, and I know everybody's hoping that we can rile up some of that Bill France Sr. magic that always kept the weather beautiful up until 2012 for the Daytona 500. It's certainly going to be still an exciting weekend of racing. Of course, the modified action finishing up at New Smyrna and all the action at Daytona, Kyle. We know you'll bring it to us as it happens, and we look forward to hearing all the reports from when you get back with us for next Thursday's Stock Car Steel show. But until then, have fun down there at the World Center of Speed, and we will see you next Thursday night for the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports show.
It's been a great weekend, Jacob. I'll talk to you guys next week. We can recap what happened in New Smyrna, and we'll see who ends up the victor in the 56th running of the Great American Race.
And as we're getting ready to go to break, I do want to add, I talked to Kyle extensively earlier today. He's been down on the pit lane getting ready for truck practice, going to be down there for the truck race on Friday night, and he just keeps saying there is nothing like it, and there really isn't, Tom. When you talk about NASCAR Speed Weeks, there's nothing like being at Daytona on the grid, whether it's for the Camping World Truck Series race, the Nationwide race, or the Great American Race. I know he's ramped up about being there for the 500 on Sunday and ramped up to bring back some coverage for next week's shows from the World Center of Speed. Just really have had fun talking with Kyle and have had fun hearing everything that's going on down there pretty much as it happens. I know earlier today he was watching the truck practice charts and said it was a pleasant surprise, and you could hear it all around the garage area. Everybody, when Tyler Reddick, the rookie, went to the top of the charts in Brad Keselowski's truck, there was a collective went around the garage area. Just nobody expected it, but he said things are really heating up, getting ready to go into not just tonight, but this entire weekend as well.
Yeah, it's definitely is on, as they say now. It's we're just moments away from the broadcast and the start of the duels, and of course the trucks and the Nationwide Series and the Cup Series. I mean, everything is just coming to a boil here and coming to a climax, if you will. And these races are all going to be fantastic, I think.
Yeah, I think they are. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to wrap it up and get everybody ready to head out there in just a few minutes. But for now, we're going to throw our final caution flag of the evening on the show. When we come back, we'll hear from a World Series of Asphalt Racing competitor who is also going to be branching out into the ARCA Racing Series for 2014. We'll talk to Florida native Michael Lira after this break. You're listening to Speed 77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online, and we'll be back right after this.
Hi, this is Jamie McMurray here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. Want to make a difference? It's simple. Be responsible. Plan ahead. Designate before you celebrate. Friends don't let friends drive drunk.
Baby, you can drive my car. Yes, I'm gonna be a star.
A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker,
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. Baker along with Jacob Seelman, and we are rapidly closing in on the on the start of the Budweiser duel. Later on Fox. First, we have got one last interview to to bring to you this evening, and that is with Michael Lira. And here is a racer who is driving for Team Kimmel, Jacob, the 2011 Fast Car Pro Truck Series Rookie of the Year, and of course, a former track champion at New Smyrna and the Orlando Speed World. And how about this one, Jacob? You don't see this every day with a race car driver. He is the #1 ranked high school trombone player in the state of Florida.
You know what? It's always fun to talk about those little tidbits. And yes, when Michael Lira is not behind the wheel, he is an exceptionally talented musician. Certainly enjoys talking about that as much as he does being behind the wheel, but he's got a passion for going extremely fast, has really made a name for himself in the state of Florida over the last couple years, and now branching out, ran 4 ARCA races for Bill Kimmel and that whole operation in 2013, and that's going to expand to 13 races for 2014, looking at running all the races he's approved to run. He's only 16 years old, but going to turn 17 about the middle of the year, which is going to clear him to run the second race at Pocono for the ARCA Series, as well as Kentucky there towards the end of the season. He's going to make his first start of the year in the number 69 Ford at Mobile International Speedway in Alabama next month, and says he's really looking forward to it, but he's got, I know, the 2 dates at Salem Speedway circled on his calendar, because those are not only home races for Bill Kimmel Racing and that entire operation. We know what Salem means to the Kimmel family, but it's also the race where Michael had arguably his best run of the season in 2013, ran in the top 5 the vast majority of the afternoon, and looked to be a threat to challenge for the podium. Maybe not have the winning speed that day, but was very, very strong. And I know if there's any 2 races on the 2014 campaign he's looking forward to, Salem, Indiana has to top the list. And I know there's not a lot of drivers who have raced at Salem Speedway who would say that.
Well, that's for sure. That is one track for serious racers only. Let's hear from Michael Lira, shall we?
Jacob Seelman for Speed 77 Radio and RaceChaserOnline.com, sitting down for a special featured interview with 2014 ARCA Racing Series driver for Kimmel Racing, 16-year-old Michael Lira. Michael, first off, thank you for taking some time to talk with us here, and a big jump for you in 2014. You're going to tackle about 2/3 of the ARCA Racing Series schedule with Bill Kimmel and the Kimmel Racing operation. You ran a couple races last year, but this is really going to be your first pretty much full-time taste of the ARCA Racing Series in 2014. Talk a little bit about the opportunity and what it means to you to have this kind of a chance for your 2014 season.
I'm really super excited about this season. It's basically almost a full season just because it's every single race that I'm old enough to run in the series. So right now I'm 16 years old, so I'll be able to run all the short tracks. And I turned 17 in July, and then after that I'll be able to run a few speedways, Pocono and Kentucky.
What does it mean to you that Kimmel Racing and the guys at Roush Fenway Development have put this kind of faith in you to sign you to what looks like it could turn into a longer-term deal going forward?
It's really awesome working with the Kimmels. Bill is a wealth of information, having driven these cars and won races in them, and won races and championships from the crew chiefing side of it. He's really taught me a lot, and so has Will, his son, along the way. So working with them is really great, and hopefully to get a chance to work with Ralph Fenway in the future and Nationwide and Cup would really be amazing.
Looking at some of your history in motorsports, the first couple of years you raced in the Fast Car Pro Truck Series, had a lot of success in the Pro Trucks across Florida, and ran some Pro Late Model races for 2012 and 2013 as well, actually returning to your late model roots to compete in this week's World Series of Racing at New Smyrna Speedway. And the World Series this year for you didn't start out quite the way you guys had anticipated. You were in a really hard crash on opening night at New Smyrna, but you guys battled back to repair that race car, and you went out last night and nearly notched a top 10 finish. Talk a little bit about your experience at the World Series so far this year and what it's been like for you guys having to really battle back from being behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, I mean, that's just speed weeks. A lot of guys come down, from Wisconsin and Canada and stuff that have never seen this racetrack and don't have a lot of racing experience. So you experience the first couple of nights a lot of crashes, just to be frank. So I just got caught up in the first one. Somebody spun right on the start, and I was just too close to it. Couldn't dodge it. So that car was completely finished, and we actually rolled out a backup. Worked on that for 2 or 3 days, and it was because it was almost a full second slower than the other car, and qualified almost in the back of the pack and passed about 10 or 15 cars to finish 11th last night. So it was a lot of fun passing all those cars and stuff. I learned a lot.
Talking about learning, it's going to be a big learning curve for you going into 2014, but I know your pro truck and your late model career over the past 3 seasons, what have you learned from some of the other short track racing that you've done in the past that may be able to help you for your ARCA Racing Series run in 2014?
A couple years ago, I ran in the Florida Truck Series, which was a traveling series throughout Florida. I think we did about 5 or 6 tracks. But going into that series, I had never raced at any of them. So it was really interesting to show up at a new track and learn the line and how each track is different and really master them. So that's something that you really have to learn for ARCA. Since there are, short tracks and speedways and dirt, and it's just such a diverse schedule, you have to be good at learning tracks really quickly.
Your first race is going to be next month in March at Mobile International Speedway, 200 lapper there. But looking at your ARCA Racing Series schedule for this year, what track or tracks are you most looking forward to getting to compete at with the ARCA Series this year?
I'm definitely excited about the 3 tracks that are back this year that I did compete at last year, which are Berlin in Michigan, Madison in Wisconsin, and definitely mostly Salem, because it is the Kimmel's home track. Bill has won the late model championship there. Will has won the late model championship. Their shop is 10 minutes away. And last year in my 4th race, we were able to get a top 10 there. And we spent a lot of the race in the top 5 too. So we really had a strong car there.
With some of the success that you guys had at the very end of your run last year, where do you guys set the bar going into 2014 for your schedule of events this year? Do you guys feel like you can go out and contend for wins at a few of these racetracks in 2014?
I still show up to the racetrack with the same attitude that I had before. The number one goal when we went to the track in those 4 races was, first of all, to not touch any driver, anybody, especially if you were being lapped. Bill told me that gained so much respect from other drivers. When you give Frank Kimmel and people like that room, they will give you room in the future when you're racing against them. And, the number one goal of all those races was only to finish them all. If you didn't run all the laps, you missed out on learning. We'll definitely go into the season wanting to finish every race, and then whatever happens after that is just a bonus.
I know based on your schedule in past years, there's always the potential for additional races. Besides your ARCA campaign for this year, where else can fans expect to see Michael Lira on track in 2014?
As of now, I'm not really sure. I may be racing weekly at New Smyrna Speedway, but that might change. We're still working out the plans a little bit right now. I will be in a late model, but I'll definitely be announcing it on my Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that and letting the fans know where I'll be racing and when.
And I know you can't do it alone. I know you've got a lot of people and supporters behind you helping make it happen. So I'm going to let you give some shout-outs here. Talk a little bit about who makes it happen for Michael Lira.
Yeah, definitely all my sponsors, Gary Owens Ford, Costa Sunglasses, and attorneyatlaw.com. They've helped me out so much to get to where I am today. My mom and dad, they support me with everything with my racing, and all my crew at Kimmel Racing, and those guys have really taught me a lot.
And this is a 16-year-old that comes in with a lot of potential, looking to make a splash in 2014. Michael, again, we thank you for taking some time to talk with us. We wish you the best of luck as you get ready to embark on your 2014 season in the ARCA Racing Series next month at Mobile, and wish you all the best going forward as well. We know you've got a couple more nights of racing at New Smyrna Speedway, and looking forward to seeing how that turns out for you before the end of the weekend.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And Tom, Michael will be back in action tonight with more pro and super late model racing going on at the World Series of Asphalt Racing at New Smyrna Speedway. And, you know, while we're talking late models, just really quick, how about Stephen Nasse, the young 18-year-old who has come down to New Smyrna with a vengeance, gone toe-to-toe with NASCAR veteran Stephen Wallace, and he has not blinked. Nasse winning 3 out of the 4 super late model features that the track has held going into tonight, and leads the points going into their next night of racing this evening. Going to be exciting, but you want to talk about youth movement. It's happening even at the short track levels.
Oh, there's no question. And of course, Stephen Nasse has been hunting late model competitors for about 3 or 4 years now. I mean, he was winning when he was 14 or 15, I think, in the late models, and just keeps on doing it. Stephen's had actually had some health issues over the last year or two that have caused him to miss some races, but he really is having a great start 2014 season, and certainly wish him all the luck in the world. He is a dynamic racer, and of course he's also from the state of Florida too, so it's kind of like a home track advantage in a sense for him down there.
Start the party. We're at home. We don't have to go very far. No, Stephen Nasse has been brilliant, and as you said, he has always run well at New Smyrna, partially because he grew up there, but you know, there's something to be said for how he's run everywhere else too. I mean, you know, you talk about guys, he and Kyle Benjamin last year had some absolutely incredible battles during some of the super late model races that they raced together, and you know, we talked about Kyle Benjamin making his modified debut in Tuesday night's battle at the beach, and I was disappointed to see how the night ended for them. Had mechanical problems that plagued Kyle Benjamin, and ultimately they ended up soldiering out of the race to a 20th place finish. Kyle said he drove that car for 90 laps with no power steering, but you know, not the debut he wanted, but I know he was having so much fun with it in practice that he said, "Can I just go buy one? I'm going to go buy one. This is too much fun."
Yeah. Well, he and Spencer Davis both getting that treat over this past week.
Yeah, Spencer Davis running the Hillbilly Racing number 79 over at the World Series. Didn't run it at the Battle at the Beach, but ran it at the World Series and has had some success. Had a couple of top 10 runs already for Spencer Davis, and that's something he's never done before. But Davis has got 2 pro late model wins in the World Series, and we're working on trying to hear from him after Saturday night for next week's show to talk about some of his success. He's right in the thick of that pro late model championship for the World Series of Racing. He's going to have a couple more strong runs before the finale Saturday night, but he's certainly right now within striking distance if he can roll a few more of these together. Won from the pole last night, so he's got the speed to do it.
Absolutely. Should be a great couple of last days here with the World Series of Racing in New Smyrna. And, of course, coming up real soon on Fox, it's the Budweiser Duels. And, boy, I'll tell you what, after the practice session yesterday, starting to wonder if we'd have enough cars left to fill the Daytona 500 field. Let's surely hope that the duels go off relatively unscathed here tonight, Jacob, because, boy, oh boy, a lot of guys using backup cars already.
Yeah, there's 6 guys, I believe, at last count that went to backup cars after that incident. Unfortunately, it's an incident that cost Dave Blaney his shot to make the Daytona 500. So a tough break. They didn't have a backup car, that Randy Humphrey number 77 team, and you hate that for Dave Blaney because he's paid his dues, been there so many years, was trying to make his 18th Daytona 500. Not going to happen this year, unfortunately, but looking forward to see Dave back on track very soon. His son Ryan going to be competing in tomorrow night's Truck Series race, and he and his teammate Tyler Reddick were the fastest 2 in Truck Series practice, so Dave Blaney still has reason to put smiles smile on his face, but they had to fix the fence yesterday. Parker Kligerman got upside down. You're right. We just need to hope that this weekend's action is much better than what we've seen, much cleaner than what we've seen even tonight for the Gatorade Budweiser duels. Sponsorship changes, not even going to go there. But the duels coming up right now. So we're going to get out of everybody's way because the stars and cars of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series about ready to take to the track to start the Budweiser duels at Daytona. So, for Tom Baker and Kyle Souza, we invite all you race fans to check out StockCarSteel.com and SRI-Supplies.com for all your racing and shop supply needs. Want to remind you that we will be on the air on Monday night at 7 p.m., where we get a little bit wild and crazy on the Motorsports Madness, an hour of news and lively conversation from around the motorsports world, where we're going to break down all the action from the World Center of Racing, including the 56th Great American Race. Austin Dillon and the Legendary 3 going to start on the pole, and that's going to be a sight for everyone come 1:16 on Sunday afternoon, and you can catch Tom, Kyle, and myself back on the air 1 week from tonight at our normal time, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, for the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. We'll break down the World Series from New Smyrna and a whole lot more. We'll be back with driver interviews, and we'll have it all for you next Thursday at 7 p.m. So now is your time to head over to Fox Sports 1 for the running of the Budweiser duels at Daytona. You've been listening to a Speed 77 Radio and Race Chaser Online production. I'm Jacob Seelman, reminding all you race fans to keep it off the wall until we meet again. It's time to go dueling. So long, everybody.